All right. Good day. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So today we are catching up on another health topic. Obviously, for the longtime listeners or the newer listeners, we're here to fuel your health, business, and lifestyle. I've always put health first. I learned that the hard way. For those of you who know my background, having left the corporate life, becoming a vagabond, if you will, living out of my car for a couple of years and fighting wildfires all over this wonderful country of ours in the United States of America. And you learn to beat the living snot out of yourself. And then you learn that that stress load on the body is not good. And then you learn that there's health hacks out there, if you will. I became a biohacker. And then, thanks to the famous Dr. Jack Kruse, I learned about the mitohacker, mitochondria. There's been so much content in the history of this show. I've always loved to spearhead health first. Yes, we've talked to entrepreneurs and authors and everything else, but today we're geeking out on health again. And for those of you, I'll just segue. We might be talking about antioxidants. We might be talking about stress on the body. We might be talking about healing. More excitingly, we might be slotting in some topics around Nobel Prize level type of conversation here. So we might be fancy today. So let's dive in, because this gentleman is the founder and chief scientist of MyVitalC. So MyVital, VITAL, C as in the letter.com. And no joke, he manufactured a Nobel Prize winning molecule. So I'd love to geek into that, because what does it take to win a Nobel Prize? And how much data do you need to acquire? And how long is it got to be tested for? But no joke, anybody who's been geeking out on my biohacking world understands that the impacts of healthy antioxidants on our lifestyle does help with quote unquote anti-aging or fountain of youth, or just in general. Let's just hit on the high level topic of the importance of wellness and general health, because us as a species, mankind today, beat the living snot out of ourselves more than we've ever done before. Impacts of technology, blue light frequencies, we've had all the conversations. So this gentleman is joining us today. He is our guest co-host. He's not just a founder and a prize-winning guy from Nobel World, but he's also a podcast host. He's also a patent holder. He's also apparently a master of comedy improv. So without further ado, I'm having fun with this guy. Chris Burris, sir, welcome to the show.
Scott, thank you so much for having me. I do want to clarify one thing.
Okay.
As much as I wish it were true, I did not win a Nobel Prize.
Okay.
I work with a Nobel Prize-winning molecule.
Yes.
And that even comes with a caveat, right? Because in fact, the molecule doesn't win the Nobel Prize. The scientists who discover the molecule win the Nobel Prize.
See, that's what I figured. But
we can jump
it's still
into that.
fun because, okay, you found it. So good. You're the fancy pants who found, well, not you, but him, he or she, who found it. Great. Good job. You get the prize. But then I'm the guy who's like, well, then what are you going to do with it? So why don't the people who actually put it into an amazingly positively impacting process win any prizes?
Yeah.
I don't know. Am I wrong on this? I'm just saying. I mean,
there's a little,
as an innocent consumer.
There's a little more drama behind the story of the discovery of the molecule, and
people love drama these days. I got to hear this. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's pretty fantastic. So let's what is the molecule? So I'm holding up a model of the molecule, right? And if you're
that is the specific model that matches the one you're using.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're listening, just imagine a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. Yep. So you have a spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms in the shape of a soccer ball. We call it ESS60. The molecule was discovered in 1985, and then the three scientists who discovered it won the Nobel Prize in '96 for that discovery. My business partner and I have been manufacturing it since 1991, so a full 5 years before they won the Nobel Prize.
Oh.
So it's not braggadocious to think that the fact we were delivering commercial quantities of this material to research institutions around the world, and they had macroscopic quantities, so quantities that they could feel and research on, is probably part of the reason they won the Nobel Prize, because having that material enabled them to know how spectacular this molecule is.
Well, let's just go ahead and pause on that. So you're already working with it and manufacturing it, but it hadn't been implemented or tested to the level of a Nobel Prize winning status, if you will.
So I think that's a fair statement, right? I mean, there's certainly some debates in there, but So think of this. In 1991 is when we started manufacturing and selling it to
5 years.
research
That's
institutes.
crazy. Yeah.
Yes. And in 1991, all 10 of the most referenced scientific papers were about this or one of its sister molecules. So we're about ESS60 or one of its sister molecules. So this is a viral scientific research, scientific discovery back maybe even before viral meant what it means today.
Well, there's social media viral, and then there's the bad viral,
scientific viral, yeah.
Scientific viral, yeah.
Yes. So the molecule again was discovered in 85. Just a little bit of the drama behind it. By the way, I have this drama listed in my book. It's kind of talked about in my book. It's called Live Longer and Better. In the way it was actually theorized to be carbon in space by a scientist who's now a Nobel Prize winner out of UK. He's an astrophysicist. He noticed a spectrum in space. His name is now Sir Harold Kroto. They knighted him after he won the Nobel Prize. So Sir Harold Kroto noticed the spectrum in space, theorized that it would be carbon. Here in Houston at Rice University, they had a very particular piece of equipment that could do fancy things with individual elements, right? So you take a carbon sample and you would zap it with a laser, take a puff of inert gas into a mass spectrometer. I know that's a whole bunch of science stuff, but really
I know a mass spectrometer. I am a part-time geek, so yes.
Okay, awesome. I understand. That's really cool. So Harold Kroto came to Rice University. And he asked Dr. Smalley, he's the one who created that piece of equipment, hey, can I put carbon in your machine? And Dr. Smalley was like, no, I'm doing sexy things like titanium. I don't want to put, boring carbon in my machine. So Harold Kroto goes away, comes back sometime later, same question. Hey, can we put this carbon in there? Like, I think there's a spectrum in space. It's like, I don't really care about the spectrum in space. Again, I'm doing sexy things like titanium, so I don't want to put carbon in here. Finally, Harold Kroto comes back again, asks the same question, and Smalley says the same thing. Normally in this story, he changes his mind. Yeah. But what happened is one of his grad students grabbed Sir Harold Kroto and said, hey, listen, I'm going to come in over the weekend. I'll put your boring carbon into the machine and we'll see what happens, right?
There you go.
And what they identified were these peaks at 60, so 60 atoms and 70. So that was effectively the discovery of the data to show that this molecule existed. Now, that grad student didn't win a Nobel Prize. I would argue that he probably should have. And then two professors at Rice University and Dr. Harold Kroto won the Nobel Prize in 96. And when they first discovered it, like they had theories that it was going to be amazing. There were all sorts of quantum calculation, not quantum, but actual chemical calculations like, hey, this is how many carbon-carbon double bonds there are. That's going to mean it can hold up to 6 negatively charged particles. They're going to say these different things about the molecule really when they've just discovered it and haven't ever held any in their hands. And so we kind of evolve, we go over time. I'll kind of cut me off. By the way, wave your hand, cut me off. I can talk for an entire hour.
That's why I'm screen sharing while you're talking, because I was geeking out about the ESS60 anyway. And I love how you guys bolded, by the way, diamonds and graphite, because it's like that's like what? People need to understand that like carbon is at the root of so many things that we just don't realize. Like
we are carbon beings.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. You're
how is that not sexy enough? Because you're on titanium. Like, well,
yeah. Well, one could imagine that if we were made of titanium,
it's a building block. Last time I checked, right? Like,
say that
carbon,
again.
Carbon, isn't it considered a building block? I mean, of all things.
Of many things. Like organic, like after regular chemistry, you have organic chemistry, which means made from founded in carbon, right? Like, so in reality, carbon is incredibly important to really everything that we do.
Makes you feel any better. My nephew, actually, he's in Japan now with the Air Force, but they paid for him his chemistry degree. So he's a chemistry geek. And then my wife, not chemistry, but she had to study that because she went to Cornell and to UPenn, and she's an equine doctor as well as a doctor of chiropractic for animals as well. So I like to surround myself with smart people. Either put a ring on it, or hopefully it's in my bloodline somewhere else.
I don't know how I ended up in this line, but I like the line. There's good right. people in this line.
Yeah, I'm the one with the gift of gab, ergo podcast. So that's what I do.
So they've probably actually, so it turns out, like, obviously when I was in school, when I was building this company in the early days, this molecule was not in any chemistry textbooks. It was not in any organic chemistry textbooks.
No, I loved science class when I was a kid. I ended up going into engineering, but I mean, geeking out, usually those geekier things. So, yeah. In the 90s.
So I'm also an engineer. That's what I was studying in school. So yeah. Here's how we ended up starting the company. My business partner, Robert, was working at the Texas. There's an organization that's housed inside the University of Houston campus. That's where we went to school. It's called the Texas Center for Superconductivity. And my business partner was separating this particular molecule from other similar molecules also that are called fullerenes. And one day his professor, Dr. Paul Chu, by the way, really famous in the superconductivity world. In fact, the building that they were working in on campus, we would call it Chu's Castle, because it was his fame that caused them to kind of invest in this Texas Center for Superconductivity. So Dr. Paul Chu comes in one day and it says, hey, you guys are young kids. This molecule is selling for $6,000 a gram. You should go start a business. Now, my business partner is from an entrepreneurial background. He did a back of the napkin calculation, which I think looked like $6,000 a gram.
I love the napkin foundational conversations.
Right?
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's like the best foundational story. I just love it. Yeah, it's like, what?
It was on a napkin, and and I don't think there was actually a calculation. It was just the number $6,000 a gram.
Yeah.
So it was off and running, starting this company. I was studying mechanical engineering. In order to manufacture this molecule, you actually have to vaporize graphite at the temperature of the sun.
Oh, is that all?
You
see a giant blast furnace,
Yes. No, I mean, when this reaction is occurring, we've got a sight glass so we can watch it. You've got to have welder's goggles or you will burn out your retina. And if you let that light shine on your chest, you will get a sunburn. It's local temperatures of the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, let me just throw out there. First, this molecule is naturally occurring, right? That's one of the first questions people have. Of course, Sir Harold Kroto was right. In space, that spectrum is the carbon molecule, right? We call it ESS60. If you collect the soot from a candle flame, right? So you typically do that by putting a cold steel plate over the candle, and that black soot on that cold steel plate has parts per million or parts per billion of the ESS60 molecule in it. So
you guys have just found a way to harvest it, really, technically.
Well, so harvesting it from that soot, because it's only parts per million or parts per billion, is very ineffective, right? So you actually
you found a way to manufacture it, back to the manufacturing.
Exactly.
Step,
and then so even when you're manufacturing it, right? Like, this sounds great. Oh, great. Out of this vaporized graphite, you're probably getting 80, 90% of this molecule. And no, the reality is we're getting 90% amorphous carbon junk and 10% of fullerenes. And this ESS60 molecule is one of the most abundant fullerenes. So it's a very inefficient process. And then you got to isolate it, and then you turn it into ESS60, which is processed for people and pets. And then that's when the kind of supplement side of things starts. You actually mix it in vats in olive oil. You actually get it to dissolve because the molecule's not water soluble for 3 weeks.
You need a fat-based element. Yep.
So. Yeah. So if you were to wake up and say, I want to make money in supplements, this is not the one you would choose, right?
Believe me, my former client did exactly what you're doing with one of his supplements. I don't know if you ever heard of the famous Vinnie Tortorich. He owns the trademark NSNG. It stands for no sugar, no grains. He's like the grandfather before ketogenic health became the thing over the past 10 years. Like he was talking about this when he was training the famous stars out in LA years ago. He was one of the early, before personal trainers became a thing. He's in his 60s now. So
yeah.
Anyway, he created a vitamin company because there were certain things that he was personally deficient in. And he goes, well, if I'm deficient, then other people are deficient. So like he created a sublingual B12, right?
Yep.
But as a binding element would not use sugar or any other filler things, right? Because as you know, if you're in the supplement world, mass production, they always find ways to make things cheaper. So anyway, so he created a D3K1K2. And for best absorption, you need to have a fat-based carrier. So he's got friends in Italy that have olive oil villa, company. And he goes, I want to buy drums of your olive oil. Like they sell them in like 3-liter tins and stuff, and they ship them to this country pure. And he goes, yeah, just give me a bulk. And they're like, why? Like, I'm going to stick it in these tiny little, vegetable gel capsules. And that's the vitamin D3K1K2 that I buy from my parents to this day, because I know it's pure and clean. So that's how I was like, he goes, no one is doing like pure Italian olive oil, at least for that product. So it's kind of funny how you brought up olive oil. It's like, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no. So
not cheap.
Our main product is in a high quality extra virgin olive oil. And you probably know that'll leave a peppery flavor at the back of your throat. So you're literally taking, our recommended serving is about a teaspoon.
I've done shots.
Yeah.
And we were in Greece this summer, so we were doing shots of all over there too. And you learn actually, so that company was from, I think it's pronounced Puglia, Puglia, very successful olive oil growing area down near the boot heel of Italy. So they called it the Puglia pinch. I learned that years ago.
Oh, so that's kind of cool.
Peppery aftertaste. And then I went down the rabbit hole, which you probably heard of the best-selling book, Extra Virginity.
No, I haven't.
Whole documented case study, scientific research. Like it's just like reporters who do, I don't know. It's kind of like people like Nina Teicholz in the health world too. Like they're investigative reporters and they just dive in on science and health. Anyway, that book is phenomenal because it's the truth behind how the FDA in this country for years has allowed them to cut quote unquote extra virginity olive oils. Like it might say it on the bottle, then you flip it over and you go down, you got to read the fine print. And then you see canola oil and other crap they're allowed to blend in there and then still call it 100% extra virgin olive oil, as long as it's the cutting oils that have been added in are below a certain percentile. And I'm like, well, then it's not 100%, because if you superheat that, now you're creating trans fats and all kinds of other things that we've now had the science to learn. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a geek, so I'm with you.
Yeah, no, when it comes to that peppery flavor, you've probably been to like a chain Italian restaurant where they'll pour some olive oil in a little bowl for you to dip your bread.
You don't get that in at all.
Then they'll crack pepper in it.
Yeah.
And why are they cracking pepper?
Yeah, you shouldn't need it. Yeah.
Because it's creating that peppery flavor. So
when you started manufacturing, I mean, how much olive oil research did you guys have to do? I mean, geez. So
we threw us into the fire, right? Apparently the mob is involved and there's all sorts of challenges there. The best we can do, by the way, if you want to actually know if your product is just olive oil, the only test you can do is a genetic test.
Wow.
Right. You have to genetically look for palm oil. That's usually what they're mixing it with. Right. And those tests are extremely expensive. Yeah. So what we've done is identified particular orchards in Greece specifically, where we just track it from there to here. We have less chain of custody goes through fewer hands, and we're still hoping.
It's better. You can't trust the stuff, unfortunately, in this country. I think the best store chain here in this country that seems to have a legit lead on pure, actually, is of all companies, is Costco, and they're a bulk selling company. But a buddy of mine did research on their white labeled brand, and it came back clean, so he was surprised. So I was in Greece. Very impressive olive oil. I mean, it's funny how the Greeks and the Italians, man, they're all like very competitive, but I don't care. It tastes amazing.
We actually have a problem selling into Greece because it's olive oil and they don't want anything coming in.
But okay, so let's do, obviously this is why we're on the show. Digging into this. Okay, so ESS60 is carried in the olive oil. Or are you making, is it an enhanced olive oil?
Yes.
Okay.
That is a fair way to think of it.
Like I'm taking E out of ESS60. I'm just going to call it the enhanced olive oil. I mean, but it's like, so you guys are so it is mostly olive oil that you've souped up.
Yep.
Okay.
You cannot get that much of this molecule to dissolve in the oil, right? And as I mentioned, it takes 3 weeks.
Mm.
So it's not like you think about, oh, let me pour some sugar or salt into water and watch how quickly it dissolves.
Right.
No, this is something that's got to mix for 3 weeks in order to dissolve. So
So
it's
when
a
did you start
challenging.
researching and figuring out that process that went into your manufacturing? Was that also back in the 90s when you guys were doing all the initial research, or was that later?
No, we have expertise with working with the molecule.
Yeah.
Really, here, I'll kind of continue the story, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, please do.
91, we start manufacturing. In 2012, they release a study. Well, so one of the amazing things about this molecule, because we are talking about health stuff, but I'm going to scare us all a little bit. This molecule performs as well or better than the current best material in almost every application.
Hmm.
So it makes better inks, better batteries, better tires, better photocells. And that's where people get nervous because, like, I've never looked at my car and thought, what component of my car's battery should I be taking on a daily basis, right? Like, you
Interesting
don't,
association. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe biohackers, right?
Yeah.
You and I are biohackers, but
Yeah.
that's been a journey for me too. But the story gets a little worse first. So one of the shapes on the exterior of this cage that is repeated across the cage is the same as benzene. And benzene is a ubiquitous, necessary molecule for modern society. Just as evidence, glance around your room, everything that's plastic, gone because it has benzene as the foundational molecule.
Right.
Also, a lot of medications have benzene as the foundational molecule, including aspirin, and then a lot of detergents. So we don't have modern society without benzene. But benzene on its own, so without a conjugate to turn it into plastic or aspirin or whatever, is known to be toxic and known to be a carcinogen.
So is it considered a heavy metal or no?
It's just a carbon ring, right?
Okay.
With six molecules. I mean,
Okay.
6 carbon molecules, right? And it's got that shape right there.
Yeah.
So 6 carbon molecules. When it's alone, it's a carcinogen and toxic. So it's known to be toxic, known to be a carcinogen. So they thought this molecule would be toxic, and they put it in that toxicity study. In that study, they gave Wistar rats, were the study subjects in this case. They gave one group water, one group olive oil, and then one group olive oil with as much of the ESS60 molecule as they could get to dissolve in it. Instead of being toxic, the test subjects that they gave the ESS60 in really the MyVitalC formula lived 90% longer than the control group. So a full 90% extension of life in Wistar rats, peer-reviewed, published research. You can imagine that's the thing that changed us from being happy-go-lucky carbon nanomaterial scientists,
Right.
that's us,
Ergo, your professor saying, "Hey, you might want to, do something with this," and
Well, at that point, we had little kind of input from professors, right? So that was in 91. We were in school. That paper came out in 2012.
Oh, wow.
The story's a little crazier, right? Because in 2013, we started getting phone calls from this crazy, wacky group of people called biohackers, right? Like, I can say crazy and wacky because I am now a biohacker.
Oh, we got some weirdness going on, man.
Because
we're doing all the things that people like, oh, there's not enough research or science on that yet. And I'm like, is there?
Yeah.
I call what's the new thing now? Actually, I learned it from smart people like you. I just say, well, I'm my own N1 experiment.
N of one. Yeah, absolutely.
Learned that from a fellow biohacker. And then they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, now another thing being thrown around, I guess you want to call me a citizen scientist. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I'm taking accountability for my personal health, and I'm going to test these things on myself because I want to live the maximum best performing life ever and not be in a hospital. I have 0 drugs. I'll be 50 in a couple of years. People are like, oh, get ready. I'm like, yeah, you guys told me that when I turned 40. And other than some white hair, which came from the stress of wildland firefighting in 2010 and 2011 before your paper came out, I'm like, I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Lean fit, heli skiing 2 weeks ago. Like we were talking about that earlier. I'm like,
yeah,
I might be doing all right with my N1 experiments.
Absolutely happy. By the way, I'm 55. I turned 56 this year, and
I'll be 48 this year. So
I'm training and pushing hard, and I don't have the skills to be comfortable heli-skiing, but I think I have the fitness, and if I gave it some time, I could do it. Like I wouldn't be afraid of getting injured because I feel like really strong in where I'm at.
Yeah.
And
well, because age is only a number.
Yeah.
You are proving it, and I'm in the process of proving it. It's how we age. I don't know. Do you guys actually get it? Actually, I was digging through your site. I don't think you guys do a lot of that, but like nowadays, everybody's doing they're doing the advanced blood panels and genetic research. And now they're doing the thing where like, oh, what is your actual like cellular age, so to speak?
Biological age. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the new thing. Yeah. So
I've done that. There's the one that I like them all, but one, I don't think there's really such a thing as biological age. I think these are good to test out the protocols that you're trying and to see if it has a positive impact, right?
Like within like what, 1 year, 2 year utilization type stuff, like because you need a timeline. I mean, it's like, okay, well, you need time for it to make an impact on your body at the cellular level.
Well, right? I think there's value in doing multiple tests, maybe doing a test once a year. So I can share with you. One of the tests I did was my DNAge, and when I was 51, it had me at 59, which I was not very happy about, like because I'm working hard, right?
Yeah.
I retook the test when I was 53, and it had me at 58. So 3 years later, it had me 1 year younger. So I like that. I like that direction. Like so now I'm happy with that.
We don't need to see big leaps, but that's some good math.
Yeah, no, if we just keep that going, like that's really good. The other one that I did was glycanage, and it looks at glycans and really is kind of looking at the inflammation in your system.
Your inflammatory markers. Yeah.
Yep. And that had me at 21, right? So I took that when I was 54, I think 53 at the earliest. Had me at 20. I don't even know if I want to be younger than biologically 21. Can I still drink? I don't know what happens.
Well, nowadays there's so much chemical stuff going into that world too. It's like, oof, I don't know. I was a bartender in my 20s, and I'm like, I liked it back then. Now everybody's got the fancy aprons and leather, and they're doing all kinds of crazy things. And
the
I'm like,
mixology stuff,
all these infused alcohols and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, okay, I love your creativity.
Yeah.
But in the end, alcohol's a toxin. Does not help with the aging process.
It does not. No, it in no way help. Well, it helps with the aging process.
Well, socially, it might help you accept the aging process. But
also, it might.
Yeah, because another smart guy for you. If you ever heard of Dr. Anthony J.A.Y.
No.
He, I forget which medical company he did research for. I don't know if he's actually a geneticist, whatever, but years ago I had him on the show a couple times, and one of his side hustle businesses, he created a consultation based on supplemental alignment. So basically he's like I don't know if he's still recommending it, but he's like, dude, go on 23andMe, don't pay for the advanced crap, buy the most basic kit, do the swab. He's like, when you get it all back, he goes, you can go into your account and export the raw data file. He goes, you won't be able to read it, but I can. He's like, also send me your advanced blood works. We did a deep blood panel, genetical stuff, sent him all the data. And then I had him come on the show. And we did a live episode where he basically had a whole Word doc report on what vitamins, minerals, but obviously chemicals either are okay with me or not okay with me. Right. Yep. Like apparently I had a marker that says I can process caffeine. I can expel it like twice as fast as normal people. There's a genetic marker. For that. I'm like, who knew? But like, for example, the only supplement that I've been taking on and off thanks to that was it glucosamine? No. That was back when I destroyed my shoulder. I'm just blanking on it right now, but it's an anti-inflammatory supplement. I'm just blanking on it right now. But anyway, it's like, on that note, because I don't want to lose that train of thought with you, and that we can finish the rest of your story. But what are your thoughts on supplementing and taking the break, right? Because like years ago, in my early days of biohacking, I was like, okay, well, you got to try it for 3 to 6 months, but then you got to take a break and see if you notice like any drop off or your body gets used to it and adapts. Because again, quote, it's a supplement, right? Because we're filling in something that is possibly missing in our healthy lifestyle. Now, if you continue to biohack and improve your healthy lifestyle nutritionally and everything else, do you need as many quote supplements or not? Like, what are your thoughts on that subject? Because that's a hot subject right now, you know, and you have a supplement company. So
yeah, no, I think it's really important to be aware of where supplementation is necessary, where supplementation is nice to have, and where it's needed. I think one of the things is you can do blood panels and you can understand you might be low in D. Like apparently everybody is low in vitamin D right now because we're not getting exposure to the sun like
it's
we
winter
used to.
season. Yeah.
Right. And so you can do those tests. I think B is also like vitamin B is another one that people can be deficient on, and you can take a little tiny pill once a week and like fix that. And so those are things that you need to be aware of. Beyond that, I think you need to start looking at how do you feel? How does it make you feel? And that can have two components. Like, so one of the components can be, it makes me feel good, but I'm kind of cheating the system, right? So there's, as an example, if you start taking testosterone, right, TRT replacement, you can actually cause your body to reduce the amount of testosterone it produces naturally, right? So
I don't support that, and I know a lot of people believe in it. And again, I tell people, you do you. I got friends that are veggies and vegans and pescatarians and all the things. So I'm like, dude, I just eat a big fat steak, and my tea is just fine. You could ask my wife. You can ask anybody I do sports with. I'm like, I'm good, bro. But you know,
no, do you do any sprinting?
On my mountain bike and on my road bike. I'm a cyclist nut. I'm an endurance guy. Like a couple years ago, I did my first ultra mountain bike race. It was 100 miles on a mountain bike here in Pennsylvania. 10,000 feet of climbing over the whole race, over 100 miles. It sucked.
Yeah, it was one of the worst things.
Let's just say it how it is. This is not me a brag. It's like, but I set it as a goal because I tried doing it the year before when I was getting married and I collapsed a lung and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm coming back. I'm going to crush this race. And I only made it to like mile 67. And I don't like not finishing something. So I'm like, all right, great. I'm coming back next year. Let's do it again. And then COVID hit, so they had to push the race off another year. So I went back and I did it. Now the pros, they were done in like 6-7 hours. I was 13 hours on a bike seat.
Yeah, no, that's a lot.
No, boy, no, don't recommend it. If you're a man, that lower region does not enjoy 13 hours on a bike seat with the bumping. It's
not celebrating. It's the wrong kind of inflammation.
Oh, yeah. But again, racing. Again, I'm an endurance guy, but there's always going to be sprints. You're doing sprint drills, stuff like that. And I used to do running. I did half marathons, full marathon, all that stuff too. Now I like doing those. I'm on an open road. All right, let's open it up and just hammer it for like the next half a mile to a mile to see how my legs feel, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
So apparently sprinting and deadlifts are two of the exercises that increase testosterone the most. Right. So
there's 3 fundamental movements in powerlifting: deadlift, back squat, bench press.
Yep.
Deadlift is one of the easiest as long as you're smart. Don't over push it or do the weight belt thing. I got a buddy, he's a professional trainer. He will not use a weight belt. He goes, if you need a weight belt, you're not there yet.
Too much weight. Yep.
Too much weight. He's like, especially as we're aging. He goes, dude, you're probably lifting more weight than you normally do. Be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So that's, one of the considerations for testosterone, right? Like as you start getting older, you want to make sure that testosterone is high. Yeah. I don't think it's just the steak. I think that's probably true. Although
it's a fuel source. Yeah. But you're right. You also have to get back to the basic fundamentals of we're designed to heal and heal stronger at the cellular level. So if we're never testing ourselves, then how's our body supposed to know to get stronger or build back better or whatever you want to call it from lifting and working out or racing or whatever? Like last year or a few months back, I crashed my mountain bike, collapsed the other lung. So now I'm good. I'm even. Don't recommend it. I've never broken ribs in my life. Now I can check that off the list. I'm sure I challenged my body and I'm sure awakened something to make me heal faster and better. Yeah. Now, thanks to my lifestyle, I was in and out of the hospital in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
And that was with a surgical chest tube, everything. Like they had the back pressure device. They're like, within a day, they're like, we're taking the chest tube out. Now,
That's
5+ years ago, it was a different collapsed lung. This one was a traumatic pneumothorax. I totally earned it. The 1 years ago was a spontaneous pneumo. I literally just collapsed it spontaneously. Apparently, you can do that when you're a tall, lean, athletic person, I found out. So, anyway, that one I was in the hospital for 8 days for. So, if I go in 5.5 years from 8 days to 1 day, back to your math, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, no,
with broken ribs,
moving in the right direction.
I think we're moving in the right direction. I was like, people are like, what do you mean you're out of the hospital? I'm like, they're releasing me.
I don't know. They kicked me out.
The hole's plugged up. The tube is out. Let's go. Now, granted, I was in pain for the next month with the broken ribs mending and your intercostal muscles and stuff. But like,
that is one of the most painful breaks you will ever experience. Yeah. Like, no, that's your body going, I don't know what you did, but never do that again.
Yeah. It's basically like, and then if you did it more than one rib, which we figured out later, they're like, that's like a no bueno, no bueno, no bueno. Like, bro, not cool.
Yeah. Don't do that again. Here, I'm going to inflict so much pain on you that you remember to never do that again. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't laugh and don't sneeze. It's But again, back to your point, stress on the body. I truly believe that, because again, I did one of the most dangerous jobs in the world for a couple of years, the wildland firefighting. I was on one of the elite hotshot crews. We beat the snot out of ourselves for 16 hours a day. Yeah. And that's when I started geeking out that was 2010. And trying to figure out what is antioxidants, what is anti-inflammatory lifestyle, because the government food that they were feeding us was shit. I mean, it was just like, you want me to hike in the mountains with a chainsaw on my shoulder, don't shower for 2 weeks, 16 hours a day fighting wildfires, and you're feeding us a brown bag lunch of this warm lunch meat wrapped in we call it a meat wad of white bread, because you're out in the mountains in Arizona or Nevada, like it's hot. So all that is getting nasty in your pack. And then, there might be an orange in there. And then a couple of Cliff Bars, this man-made garbage that I'll never put in my body ever again. And it's like, dude, I probably lost a few years of my life doing that job.
Yeah.
But that's when I found out about cortisol levels, stress on the body. Within a year, all the gray kicked in. It was funny. Like, I had nothing at 32. And then within a year or two, the salt and pepper just ripped off. And people are like, what happened to you? It's like, I'm going to go ahead and put possibly the stress of the job.
Yeah. Bad food.
Yeah. I wasn't doing shots of olive oil back then. But
it's interesting. You mentioned antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. One of my roles as the chief scientist was to really kind of come in and assess, where does this molecule sit in the landscape, right? Is a 90% extension of life even a big deal? Turns out it is.
That's a big number.
Well, think of this. The next best researched way to live longer is calorie restriction. If you reduce your calorie consumption by 30%, it's well documented in many animal models that you can extend your life by 30%.
I've read studies on that, because they talk about the amount of energy that your body needs to break foods down and things of that nature. I'm a 50-50 on it, my N1 thing, because I'm like, okay, granted, nowadays I only eat twice a day, so I'm not overeating anyway, and I literally don't eat anything manufactured. Just to give you an idea, I'm bacon, eggs, and steak, and that's it. Literally. Yep. I mean, and then for fun, I have some cheese. Like, I'm just, people say I'm the most boring person. And I was like, okay, well, when I travel on business, I have a wonderful dry aged ribeye rare, and that's me. I'm not saying you do that. I'm just letting you know what's working for me. And I donate blood every 8 weeks, and I pay for my own advanced panels a couple times a year. I still fast. I do 48 to 72 hour fast once a quarter, because I started doing that years ago after the firefighting. So I was like, I always, like everybody else, like, you do you.
Yeah.
Just back to your point, though, you said, how do you feel? I can come off of a 2-day fast and go set a PR in my gym, in my barn. And I'm like, didn't eat for 2 days. Body healed. Came back. Energy's through the roof. Rocking and rolling. So back to your point on caloric restriction.
Yeah. I call that diet the starve yourself 1/3 to death diet. No one, if you have a clipboard and you're on the street, no one wants to sign up, even if you give them a free sweater. because they're going to be cold. Like no one.
Oh, the
signs
fasting
up.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are so afraid of it. I'm like, I was afraid of it. I'm like, okay, it's only a day or 2 days.
No. I'm talking about ongoing, reduce your calorie consumption by 30% in perpetuity, right? Like that's the starve yourself 1/3 to death diet, and people don't sign up for it.
Yeah. Because it does come back to your points on nutrients, right? Vitamins and minerals. Like it's not just the quantity, it's what is in the quantity.
Yeah.
Like if you're eating true, wholesome, nutrient dense sources, right? It's going to be hard to overeat on that. If you're eating Doritos and peanut butter cups for dessert, they're designed by a smart person to get you to keep eating more of them, to buy more of them.
Yeah. 100%. I heard somewhere, actually, I'm reading a book. It's about to come out. So I'm going to interview this guy. His name is Ben Azadi.
I know. I know the name.
You know Ben? Yeah.
I haven't had him on the show, but I know the name. I've been hearing him through the Twitter spheres or X or whatever it's called now. Yeah.
Keto Camp is one of Camp with a K.
Yep.
And he was talking about like 1 out of every 8 chips is a little spicier than the others. That gives you a little dopamine hit so that you continue to eat the Doritos. Like, holy smokes, that's a lot of.
It's scientists doing this. They're paid to find a way to get food more addicting.
Yeah.
That's your job. Yeah. Because in the end, it's about profit.
Yeah.
So us talking about a peppery finish on our olive oil just isn't as exciting until you actually try it. It's very nice. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So if you have a little bit of a cough, it's nice. Yeah. So
then you spend a bit of time on it and you feel the difference, and that really makes a big difference, right?
So are you getting Ben on the show? On your show?
Yeah. No, I'm getting him on my show the second time.
So, okay, sweet. So you did already meet him. All right. Yeah. Cause his new book is Metabolic Freedom.
Yes, I think so. I'm actually, it's not out yet, but he got me a copy.
Yeah. It's a pre-order. Like I said, I definitely follow the guy just cause you don't have to agree with everybody's points, but I love his honesty, his transparency, and obviously,
he's
a lot of his content is great.
He's a smart guy. I'm actually going to see him.
Here we go. For screen sharing, I got to start with you first, of course. You showed the book earlier. There he goes. Live longer and better. And then just to create the association, because the algorithms, they hear this and they see this. When you talk about more than one book, especially on Amazon's algorithm, that's because I publish my own book too. When you order a book with another book, it creates an algorithm change. And then if you talk about it, also, there's all the stuff working too. So obviously, on his site, Keto Camp, pre-order now. It means it's about to come out. 30-day guide to restore your metabolism, heal hormones. Oh, heal hormones. Interesting angle, and burn fat. So there you go.
It's a great book. Like, absolutely.
Did he give you an early sample of it?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm almost done with that book.
I'll have to reach out to his team and get him on the show, because I would love to promote his book launch. So
he's pretty amazing, and I look forward to meeting up with him. So you think about the 30, reduce your calorie consumption by 30% and extend your life by 30%. Compare that to a 90% extension of life by adding olive oil and an ESS60 molecule. So that was one of the first things that I had to understand. And then the next was like, well, what might the method of action be? Our most consistent testimonial is people take it in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. And so we really kind of hung our hat on, well, if they're getting better sleep, like we all know that
you can heal and recover
your mental, mental, physical, and emotional well-being. Yeah. So that could be the explanation.
I've been trying to hack my wife's sleep since I met her. So I love the fact that there's a sleep angle on this, because I still haven't hacked it, but I'm not giving up. She wakes up at I think it's because of her being an on-call doctor for animals for so many years too. And she doesn't wear the blue blockers that I bought her for nighttime when she's on her iPad watching TV. She's not doing any of the things I know. So, but she's chronically just gets up naturally at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and has not been able to fix that time clock alignment. And I tell her, I'm like, then you should just start being a morning person, because you're
wired that way.
So you're gonna lay back into bed, and there's no quality out of that. So I don't know.
Well,
her circadian rhythm is different than mine. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, there's an overlap, and this is
Yeah.
an evolutionary thing because you really can't have everyone in the tribe asleep at the exact same 8 hours. You
So
need some asleep.
is the ESS60, is that the component or the olive oil component that they have tied to the sleep? It's all back to the ESS60, right? I mean, it's just
Yes, ESS60. Yeah. No,
ah,
I mean, olive oil is an amazing oil and is amazingly good for you.
sure.
But
Very
when you
clean,
look at
healthy
that
fat.
original study,
Yeah. Yeah.
when you look at that original study, the 90% extension of life was the olive oil with the ESS60, not just the olive oil.
Right, right, right.
Um, so absolutely, that's
So
important.
ESS60, that's not, quote, the antioxidant value. That's what the olive oil is adding into the equation, right? Because it is considered it is considered antioxidant. So
let's think of it this way, right? So when you have the raw powder, the raw ESS60 powder,
okay.
it's a carbon powder. It's a black powder that would, sit in your hand. It's crystals, right? Kind of like sugar crystals or salt crystals.
Okay.
It's not individual molecules. So, right. So you are holding a bunch of these soccer ball shaped molecules, but they're in the shape of a crystal.
Gotcha.
It's not water soluble. So it's hydrophobic. So if you could consume it and excrete it, that's totally safe. But because it's not water soluble, you would just excrete it, and very
You
little
need
would
the
be
fat element
bioavailable.
to carry it. Yeah. So
when you dissolve it in olive oil, you break those crystals down to the monomolecular level, right? So individual ESS60 molecules are now floating around in this oil, and when you can consume it, its attachment to the lipid helps, and the fact that its surface area is almost infinitely bigger because you're taking crystals down to the individual molecules.
So it
right?
gives your body a chance to actually absorb them through the digestive process.
Exactly. Right.
Gotcha.
So
Is
now
that being absorbed in the small or large intestine, or it doesn't really matter throughout the whole process? Probably. So
yeah, it definitely it's past the stomach in the intestines because that's where lipids.
That's where most of them are being absorbed, the small intestine, right? So
yep, exactly. So you have this fascinating kind of result. Let me share the sleep, right? Because you're talking about your wife's sleep.
Yeah.
My business coach, so I have a business coach, he says that for 50 years, he needed the alarm clock to wake up. And once he started taking MyVitalC, he wakes up before the alarm clock, right?
Yeah, I do that. Wait. Isn't it fun? It's weird when you clean things up or you find the right stuff. And then it's like, if you could beat your alarm clock, that's fun. That's fun.
Yeah. That's a healthy sleep, right? That's a good, strong, healthy sleep. But he is a business coach. So some of the stuff is he's out late, he's having late dinner. He's probably, out having wines. I know that he enjoys wine because we drink wine together. And so he still wakes up before the alarm clock, right? Which is a pretty fascning result.
Oh, even with the influence of alcohol into the equation.
So we have a number. Well, let me share. I'll go scientific here. In that original study, they did a very interesting thing. My actually director of research said at one point, this could have been 5 separate papers because there's so much stuff in it. One of the things was they injected a group of rats, so not the main rats that live 90% longer, but some group of rats. They injected them with carbon tetrachloride. This is a poison that causes oxidative stress to the liver. Ooh. And so each of the rat groups, the ones given water, the ones given olive oil, their livers did not recover from this injection. It was only
it was a death blow.
Yes.
Okay.
It was the ESS60 in olive oil that those rats' livers were on the mend. They did euthanize all the rats and check out their livers.
It
was only the ESS60 rats whose livers had repaired. Right.
Interesting. Did they provide any percentage data was it a significant healing process to begin?
Yeah, it was significant. Right. I think those rats would have lived and the other ones would have died.
Interesting.
Right, because of this oxidative stress on the liver, right? So oxidative stress is so important in this situation.
So since you brought up alcohol, I got to throw this in because I'm just trying to hang with you here. I remember the supplement that I'm taking, liposomal glutathione.
Yes, glutathione, amazing. I'm going to give you.
I'm seeing some alignments here, so I'm intrigued. Yes. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to jump straight to there, right? Our current theory, we call it the BOSS theory. So bear with me. I'm going to get a little geeky, and then I got a fun analogy at the end. BOSS, buffering oxidative stress system. Of
Our
course
world
it's
is so full of acronyms, it's ridiculous. You could do a whole stand-up comedy on just acronyms, I'm sure, out of your profession. So
yeah, you actually could have done that. Yeah, so buffering oxidative stress system. So bear with me, I'm going to get a little geeky, but again, I have a fun analogy at the end. So we know from peer-reviewed published research that this ESS60 molecule gets into the mitochondria. We also know from way back in the 90s that it can hold up to 6 negatively charged particles. So I'm going to do a brief refresher on mitochondria. Mitochondria, powerhouse of every cell. You have between 50 and 5,000 mitochondria in every cell in your body, except for your blood cells, which have 0, and your neurons and brain cells, which have 2 million. That's how much our nervous system uses compared to our other systems. Just like every other powerhouse, there's a negative byproduct to mitochondria. Like your car going down the road, you've got exhaust, right? Your power plant, you have a smokestack, you have smoke coming out of it. In the case of mitochondria, you have reactive oxygen species. These are negatively charged particles. If they're left to their own devices, I kind of picture them like little bumper cars of destruction. They run around causing oxidative stress, oxidative damage, basically rusting everything they run into. And here's where glutathione comes in. Inside the mitochondria, there are 2 key antioxidants that are resident to manage these reactive oxygen species, and that's glutathione and melatonin. So you've already mentioned glutathione. Melatonin is also interesting because it's the sleep hormone.
Everybody talks about melatonin for sleep hacking. We've tried everything. That doesn't work for my wife.
What's our most consistent testimonial? Focus and energy during the day and then better sleep that night. So there's a lot of parallels with this. So when a mitochondria is going about its normal business, it's producing reactive oxygen species, and the glutathione and melatonin are managing them. But when a mitochondria gets stressed, it produces more reactive oxygen species than can be managed, right? That's when they run around like little bumper cars and do damage to things. That's where this ESS60 molecule comes in. It can hold on to those reactive oxygen species so they don't run around and do any damage until the mitochondria can replenish the glutathione and the melatonin and then manage them appropriately.
Interesting.
So here's the analogy. Just like any amazing biology analogy, it starts with Mardi Gras just finished, and you're on Bourbon Street, and you've got these drunk reactive oxygen species running around doing damage, smashing cars, busting up women.
It sounds like 2 o'clock in the morning when the bar's let out. So yes, I'm with
exactly.
You. I'm with you.
So what do the New Orleans Police Department? They've got the glutathione and melatonin. They come on to Bourbon Street. They handcuff themselves to these reactive oxygen species. They get them off of Bourbon Street. But what do they do when they're overwhelmed? By the way, how do you overwhelm a mitochondria? Well, you can have a tough workout. You can go 10,000 elevation on a bike ride, and like that would be overwhelming your mitochondria.
Strong deadlifting session.
Yeah. Strong deadlifting. Just a stressful email or phone call or interaction with your spouse, like that can cause your mitochondria to be overwhelmed. So we're on Bourbon Street, right? Drunk reactive oxygen species, glutathione and melatonin are handcuffing them to them, getting them off of Bourbon Street. When they get overwhelmed, what does the New Orleans Police Department do? They take those reactive oxygen species and they stick them in a paddy wagon, right? They attach them to the ESS60 molecule.
Now you have control of them.
Yep. So they don't do any damage. So then when the New Orleans Police Department replenishes the glutathione and the melatonin, they can come in, handcuff them to those reactive oxygen species and get them off of Bourbon Street. And that's why we say the ESS60 molecule is the boss.
So that's the boss is actually necessary for the expulsion to help remove it from the system, those stress.
It actually is a buffer. Right? Buffering oxidative stress system. So another kind of analogy, I'm still working on this, so bear with me if it's a little rough, is imagine your oxidative stress is a stream of water landing on dirt. And that stream of water is going to start making a hole in the dirt, right? But if you take a beaker and you put that beaker between the stream of water and the dirt, you're going to create a buffer. But if you don't manage that stream of water, eventually it's going to fill up and go, and you'll be drilling a hole. Where this is really valuable, and you'll appreciate this from the endurance side of things. So we have a 2-time U.S. ultra running champion. His name is Anthony Kunkle. He won a U.S. championship at 50 miles, a U.S. championship at 100K, 62 miles. And he absolutely loves our product. It's part of his protocol. He goes to conferences with us. He's just such an advocate. Really
Nice.
appreciate him. He's a super analytical biohacker, extreme endurance athlete. Like that's a good moniker for him. My first conversation with him, he said, Chris, I was just taking the normal serving, which is 1 teaspoon. I didn't really notice anything. And like all biohackers, I decided to triple it. And when I tripled it, I thought, wow, this product could be the difference between somebody having running as a career or running as a hobby. And the reason I think it's true is I don't think it speeds recovery. I think it prevents damage in the first place. So on the
I
last
was going to
5
ask that
months,
next. Yeah. Is there, back to your point of the paddy wagon and the handcuffing, it's like, are you slowing the impact of the natural damage that would have occurred by controlling it and not allowing it to hit full negative impact, if you will?
yep, that's what I think, right? Because like right now, Anthony Kunkle is running 200 miles a week. It's crazy what he's doing right
Oh,
now.
he's like the Iron Cowboy. You ever follow that guy?
I know. No, I haven't.
Oh, that guy's viral. His book is awesome too. He was like, look him up. He's nuts. I mean, just Iron Cowboy. I know I've been giving you names to go look. This guy did the 50-50-50. It was like 50 marathons in 50 days or something. It was nuts.
Countries
like,
or something. Yeah.
Nobody's done what he's done and just beat the living snot out of himself. He could have used your product. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you think about Anthony and running. He's stressing his mitochondria during runs, right? And by the way, even though he's going so fast and so far, he's stressing himself probably less than a lot of us when we're training because he's training within his sphere of fitness, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he is pushing the envelope. But you think about him stressing it, if he didn't have some sort of buffer, that extra reactive oxygen species are going to run out and do damage. But if they're held in that beaker, in that paddy wagon, and then the rest of the day when he's calming down, he's not overstressing his mitochondria, then they can replenish that glutathione and melatonin and now manage those reactive oxygen species appropriately. It prevents them from doing damage and gives him that buffer so that let's say the capacity that his system has to handle reactive oxygen species gets spread throughout the day. It's not just, concentrated in one point. Yeah, that's Anthony.
Is this your guy?
Yeah.
It's funny because I kept seeing Durango in his feed, and I'm guessing he's a Colorado guy because Durango, yes, Colorado is a great outdoorsy area. I used to hit some mountain biking races there, but yeah, that guy looks like a Coloradan.
Yeah, no, he is. And he's super analytical. Like one of the things that he did was look at the product and say, you know what, it's having such a positive impact on me. I'm concerned it's like TRT. I'm concerned that the testosterone is causing my body to not produce testosterone, or the ESS60 is doing something so my body's using it as a crutch. So I have to cycle off of it and make sure that I'm not, that it's not a crutch, that I'm not generating weaknesses. And sure enough, he's confirmed he's not. This is just a beneficial thing to his protocol.
So are you guys kind of doing that? I was calling it the N1 experiment with him because I guess on that note, can you over deliver or over serve? I mean, it's an olive oil. I mean, I know that if you take in too many fats, again, people in marketing, we've destroyed the term fat. If we can go back 40 years and re-educate people, everybody looks at fat as evil. Fat doesn't make you fat, people. I've had enough experts on the show to help clarify that for you all over the years. Fat, it should be triggered, definition, simply energy. Because our body runs on energy. It is one of the most efficient fuel sources. The only difference for sugar is sugar's a flash in the pan. I always give people the campfire thing. Kindling is your sugar. That's that long burning energy, man. And at that race, by the way, I did a completely fat adapted, not one sugary supplement ever in that race. So I proved it to myself as well. But I was just thinking about that. I'm like, cool. He did a trifecta boost. Can you over deliver, or is there a sweet spot? Because I saw on your website you guys have like was it human calculation or human serving calculation? Yep. So that's why I saw that. I wanted to bring that question in before I missed it. So I guess there is a sweet spot.
there could be a couple, like if you look at Anthony's testimonial, right? And this is a guy who's stressing his body to the max.
Yeah.
You're looking at him saying one serving wasn't enough, that he had to actually triple it in order to get to the point where he noticed a difference. And the difference, his words were, wow, what a big difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, depending on how much you're stressing your body, how much your body is stressed, like depending on what you might be dealing with, triple the serving may make sense.
Gotcha.
One of the questions that we get is there a toxicity? We believe the toxicity of our product is the same as the toxicity of olive oil. By the way, the toxicity of olive oil involves drowning. You will throw up olive oil long before it can do anything toxic in your body. Now, if you add lots of oil to your diet, your stool will get loose. This is not a debate. There's like no, and some people
I've tested this with any increase in fats. If I smoke a brisket, it's one of the fattiest cuts out of a steer. If you eat too much brisket or too much fat of the brisket, you'll have a softer stool. I just call it lubrication. You're lubing the exit, if you will. So.
Yes. No. And with our product, even people taking as little as 1 teaspoon per day, and typically you take that in the morning, that'll loosen some stool. So we're not talking loose. We're not talking diarrhea. We're just talking about a little bit looser stool for a couple of days for your body to kind of adapt to that particular quantity.
Yeah.
So not a big deal, but certainly,
and it's actually a common, discussion point in my carnivore communities, because I've been in that world for about 5 years now, and just geeking out. And what's very common, somebody making that transition. I remember that transition. It's like, okay, well, it was like a day or two. It was like, it's because you're changing your gut bio. You're going into a higher fat ratio to protein ratio, and you're removing, if you go in carnivore, for example, you're removing all these other things, sugars, inflammatory seed oil influences, all these things that are just rocking your gut. And then obviously anything, fibers, stuff from vegetables and things of that nature. So again, I do me, my wife does her, it's fine. But I was wondering about the toxicity component. I mean, again, it's a whole natural, well, really I call people, it's fruit juice, it's olive oil. Olive is a fruit. It's a fatty fruit.
Yep.
It's like avocado oil or MCT oil from coconuts, right? It's a pure Mother Nature natural fat source. So
yeah, extremely healthy. I love what Dr. Gundry says about olive oil. He says the purpose of food is to get more olive oil into your mouth.
I thought you were going to go with the whole nourish, fuel the body, energy, but okay. That's another way to look at it. Yeah. Yeah. So I noticed then, I dug into your site because we are coming towards the end of the show. We hit an hour already. Wow. You have created other variations of it. Again, I don't bring guys on to sell product, but this is all about intrigue. So you have figured out that people like athletes and stuff, there's different serving quantities. I screen shared me playing with your calculator. I'm 185 pounds. So if I bought it in liquid form, I'm 5.5 milliliter dosing. But now that you and I are geeking out, I'm like, well, that might be normal dosing. But if I'm in my training season come spring and the roads are cleaned up, I'm back on the bike a lot more. What if I'm pushing for an event? I'm probably training harder, right?
Yeah.
Or all of a sudden I start doing more public speaking events, or I start traveling a little bit more, flights and stuff like that. My body's going to be under more stress with time zone changes, and airports in general are stressful. So I'm sure there's some wiggle room there on dosing. And obviously aligning with certain supplementation that you guys have created, because I was digging into that part of the site. I'm going to screen share it in a second, but you guys have obviously the oils, and then you have, focus and energy and better sleep and everything else. I'm just intrigued about that. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're talking about a couple of things. So one
party recovery, just found that one.
Yeah, that's right. So
that's
it's
stress.
Interesting. I'm going to share, we used to call that hangover recovery and realized that we can't because of the FDA.
Of
and
course.
If you're like me, you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, this is something dumb that you do to yourself. How could the FDA be involved in it? And I'm going to say 2 words, and you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And those 2 words are alcohol poisoning, right? So a hangover is alcohol poisoning. As soon as you're dealing with poisoning, then you're actually dealing with an FDA issue, right? So that we had to, appropriately, we understand why, name it, party recovery.
Yeah,
And we have,
I love how they're cracking down on stuff like that, but they're allowing olive oil to be cut by inferior oils to increase profits of U.S. based olive oil companies. So just throwing that out there. You don't have to say what
yeah,
I'm saying.
no,
Extra Virginity.
it
Go
feels,
read that book. It's amazing.
it feels very, very challenging. We'll go with it. It feels very
Yes.
challenging.
Well, especially
The
somebody
other
like you.
thing,
You guys are trying to help people get healthier. Yes. The definition of entrepreneurship is you reserve the right to make money off of what you've done, what you've created, what you've invented, what you've implemented, because that's business. You have to get paid for what you've done, or else it's not a business and it's not a livelihood. So,
yeah,
I mean, I used to suffer from that before I became an entrepreneur. I'm like, oh, I don't want to charge for this and charge for that. I'm like, okay, well, what's your time worth, right? What's your resources worth? I'm sure
yeah.
this is not cheap. All those years of research, scientific analysis, researching papers, then getting the product to market, all the things. Well, you
Yeah.
got
Vaporizing graphite.
whatever the degree Kelvin or Fahrenheit that sucker's at. I mean, yeah. What's a sight glass go for? I don't.
Temperature of the sun. No, it's exciting and something that we did. Actually, that same piece of equipment is still the best way to manufacture this molecule on the planet. And we built that equipment back in 1991.
Gotcha. Well, going through your product stuff, I was just screen sharing for that for the YouTube watchers. So it looks like it has to be mostly in liquid form.
Yes. Yeah, that we do have some gel caps.
Yeah.
The potential challenge with gel caps, and that's mostly for people who don't like olive oil. Yeah. By the way, if you don't like it on day 1, you'll like it on day 30. It's one of those things that your body will your body will come to understand that it's really good for you.
It's going to be better than fish burps when you have an inferior fish oil trying to get your healthy fats in on that way, because fish burps suck.
They do, and you don't get that with olive oil.
My boy Vinny made one of those supplements too because he hated fish burps, and his hack was you got to use whatever these really. He's like, you have to go smaller fish too, but he's like, because fish keep eating other fish. And he goes, that's how you increase your heavy metals. It's a whole thing. But it's funny because I like this because, yes, you do a gel cap. But if I was going to help my wife, she can't stand pills.
Oh, yeah. So she can take olive oil.
The gag reflex, doesn't matter how big or small it is. It's like trying to reinvent the wheel to get her to swallow a pill. It's like, okay. Yeah.
So take this, if you need to, pour it in a plate, sop it up with the bread, gluten-free, hopefully.
She does love her whatever breads. So yes, this could be my hack. Because it's food.
Yes.
It's food.
Absolutely. No, it's the results, we literally have head to toe testimonials, right? And I'll share this one. Let me throw out an FDA disclaimer. The FDA has not evaluated our product. It is not intended to treat.
I don't trust the FDA evaluation, but thank you for your legal disclosure. I don't trust them as far as I could throw them. But thank you for your legal disclosure.
I think they're underfunded.
They are. Well, or the funding is misappropriated because they're spending it in the wrong areas here. It's food.
They have a monumental task, right? Like that's certainly clear, and they're not doing what people think. So I cover some of that in my book, Live Longer and Better. Like,
here's the best part. I got a screen share again. So I brought up your sleep formula. I got your bottle. And this is the biggest thing that I teach people when they go to the grocery store. You read the supplemental facts, but you just skip the grid because that's corrupt as well. And you go right to the fine print and look at that. What's your ingredients? Olive oil and ESS60, and that's it. That means you've not added in any other filler elements or bastardized ingredients or blah, blah, blah. It's just natural fat source and ESS60. Love that. Right there.
No, that's what we try to do. We have some cosmetic products. We try to do that. In fact, our most popular cosmetic product is a 2-parter. One is a peptide. We call it UTH29, which stands for Youth 29. That's kind of cool. And the other one is our ESS60 in oil. And we kept them separate because this is water soluble. This is oil soluble. You can shove those things together with an emulsifier, but I don't like how emulsifier sounds. If you Google emulsifier, there are no health benefits. There are actually detrimental health impacts of emulsifier. So we keep these two separate. And this is something that everybody loves. It's kind of amazing.
Nice.
I never wanted to be in the supplement space. I mean, like really didn't want to be in the supplement space. And then one of our
It's not an easy space to be in. I
Well,
learned a lot. When Vinny was my client for a couple of years, I learned so much. I was like, oh my God, that's exhausting.
think about the different world of delivering commercial quantities of carbon nanomaterials to research institutions who, when they receive your package, they give it to a grad student or a research associate who knows how to test it, and they throw it in their HPLC, and now they've confirmed that we shipped them what we promised them, right?
Yeah.
That's not what's happening in the supplement space. In fact, I always like to caution people about buying supplements on Amazon. We do have our products on Amazon, but you need to understand, what does a 5-star review about a supplement on Amazon mean?
Even my glutathione, I made sure that when I find something on Amazon, it's just a marketplace. So then I find the manufacturer or the company, then I go to find their website. I want to make sure I can order directly through them or use Amazon.
Yeah.
That's just my point of view.
Yeah. No, it's smart if they're in both. If they're only on Amazon, it's probably a money grab. Right. And if they are not on Amazon, potentially they don't know how to like jump through the hoops that you would like them to jump through to get on Amazon.
And no offense, I'm not picking on China, but a lot of stuff comes out of China. A lot of pharmaceuticals come out of China, but a lot of stuff is not meeting the standards because there is no governance over that. So I'm a big made in the USA guy, but I also know I can't get everything here. Hopefully that gets better over the next 10, 20 years again. But yes, you should be able to find the company, see what they're doing. As a sales and marketing professional, I'm like, dude, like when I had Vinny as my client, I'm like, bro, the more transparent, the better. The more, like, I get it. You have trade secrets, but like, okay, you're carrying your vitamin D on olive oil. There's not much of a trade secret there.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, I mean, like learning about the supplement industry is awful. Like, oh my God, like the most pill form, not gel like you've done, most pills, because of the manufacturing processes. Like when he created his B12, he had to buy a special machine for his outsourcer to put it in because they wanted to add in, which most pill companies do, manufacturing processes to expedite the material through the stainless steel lines. They add in, I forget what they're called. What's that?
Silica. Is one of the
silica or whatever, but it's like, basically micro ground up pulp, like wood tree, whatever. And then you find out that stuff actually can pass through the cell membrane. Like there's science on that now. And I'm like, oh my God, great. So I'm consuming supplements with ground up trees that are just going to pass right through my cell membrane. I mean, who knows what's it going to do? Because it shouldn't do that, but it's like, okay, again, geeking.
Yeah, no, that's the challenge. That's why my business partner and I really didn't want to get into the supplement market, because actually I found a peer-reviewed published research paper that said 50% of the supplements on the market don't have in them what they say they have in them.
Yep.
Right.
So Vinny, do you guys do your own third-party testing?
We also do our third-party testing.
Yeah, I think there's a thing like you got to pay. Like he didn't trust the manufacturing partners. He says, no. I'm going to have a third-party company come and take stuff off the line because I'm not messing around. And I'm like, that's a thing? He goes, oh yeah. He's like, but you got to pay for it.
Yep. Well, in our case, we do all the manufacturing here, right? The only reason we need to do third-party is because the public kind of expects it. The reality is we actually test our samples more frequently because it's an in-house cost. It's not an external cost. Right. So you think about any company in the space is like, oh, I got to spend $150 to get this test. How few of those can I do to be compliant? And we're like, we've got the equipment in-house. Like I've got my director of research is earning a salary. Like I want you to test batches as they go, as they're going through the process, that 3-week mixing process. And so we're doing it way more than any other company that might be in the space.
That's refreshing. So in the end, even if it's an internal cost, it's still a cost. It's time.
Yeah.
But I mean, if nothing else, it's great for your QA process because you want to make sure, obviously, it's a consistent result across the entire production line. But even here, I had to bring up the gel because we were talking about supplements and manufacturing. So I brought your gel caps up. And again, extra virgin olive oil, ESS60, and then you got gel. Obviously, you got to have a capsule.
Yep.
And then you have the purified water and glycerin. So it's like, yeah, this isn't rocket science. I don't see a ton of fillers in here to make a gel, right?
Yeah.
So this is awesome. I like it. And how long did this take?
What piece?
All of it. I mean, obviously you started in the 90s, but like the actual going down the road that you didn't want to go down to get into the supplement market that you had nothing to do with. Yeah. Since that to today, we're recording here in 2025. So
really we decided, I mentioned that paper, right? Like 50% of the supplements on the market don't have in them
2012,
in them.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That paper was published in 2012. We started getting, wacky biohackers in 2013. I probably found that paper 2014, 2015. And my business partner and I met in the conference room that's right behind me every quarter. Like, do we want to get in the supplement market? And at the time, we were getting 2 to 3 phone calls per week of crazy things like, hey, my knee pain is gone. And we were like, you mean the knee pain of your rat? Because it literally says not for human consumption on the labeling. And they would be like, yeah. So if my rat weighs 275 pounds and does HIIT trainings on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, how much should my rat be taking, right? And so we kind of know what's going on.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
And by the way, we put not for human consumption on the labeling because we're conservative carbon nanomaterial scientists. Everything in the literature was clear that it was safe, right? Like, we're just slow moving scientists. So finally, in the latter part of 2017, a guy with a big YouTube following started talking about all the benefits he was getting taking it on a daily basis. And our calls went from 2 to 3 a week to 10 a day. You're in the entrepreneur space. Like, my business partner and I thought 2 things. This is a bigger entrepreneurial opportunity than we realized. And 2, if we look back to that paper, right, where 50% of the supplements on the market don't have in them what they say they have in them, that's going to happen to this industry.
Yeah.
And so we're in a unique position with the lab, having worked with the molecule now for 34 years, to actually deliver a high quality product that is the highest concentration, the highest quality of the highest concentration.
Well, that's the best part, is because you're already manufacturing it. You've been doing it for all these other whatever market sectors. So it was like, okay, now you just got to add in a supplement production line, so to speak, right? Like, it's like, because you are the core manufacturer of the element, of ESS60. So, I mean, how many other quote unquote manufacturers of the ESS60, or do you own that? Is that yours?
We own that. There's manufacturers.
There's other variations out there
of the industrial carbon 60 molecule.
Okay.
In China, in Russia. And that's all we think. Okay. I think there's 2 or 3 in China and 1 in Russia.
Well, and again, I love the fact that true, deep, passionate entrepreneurs, and I'm going to stroke your ego a little bit. You gotta do it the hard way. Like, okay, FDA is going to suck. Supplement industry is a pain in the butt. It's corrupt. But like, people like my boy Vinny, I'm still friends with him this day. He's like, I got to get him back on the show, actually. But I was like, dude, thank you for going down the hard road and not creating a bastardized product. Like, purity is what matters. And after having you on the show today, it's like, there's no reason why you should ever bastardize this product. Like, it's really simple. Like, don't mess that up. It's pretty nuts. So
it's actually one of my, every day I wake up, I just don't mess it up.
Yeah.
Like, get the information about the research to more people, reap, frankly, the reward of amazing testimonials. Like, we just get amazing testimonials day after day. I'm going to share one. This is actually kind of recently. We're not allowed really to talk about inflammation because the FDA equates inflammation, a conversation about inflammation, with the disease.
Even though we know it's the root of most diseases, is inflammation of the body.
So basically what the FDA says, if I tell you that I address inflammation, what I'm telling you is I address arthritis, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes. Like, I can't do that because we don't have the research that has done that. So the FDA has this limitation. What was really exciting, so we've been going to conferences. I had this Dr. Lane Young came up to our booth. I actually got a video of him saying this because it was so spectacular. He said he had been giving our product to a number of his clients. He said, I don't care if you're male, female, if you're pre-surgery, post-surgery, diabetic, pre-diabetic, cancer, cardiovascular disease, your product, so MyVitalC, reduces HSCRP, and I'll talk about that in a second, dramatically in 4 to 6 weeks. HSCRP, CRP stands for C-reactive protein.
Oh, yeah.
It's an inflammatory marker. HS just means high sensitivity. And so he was sharing the story of a particular patient, client that was at 9. And what I learned later by conversations with oncologists, and HSCRP is also something you look at for cardiovascular disease, but from oncologists and cancer doctors, they were sharing that a 9 to them means you have cancer unless you prove otherwise. So he had this client at 9, couldn't move the needle. 4 to 6 weeks after taking our product, was down to 0.9. So we are in the process of starting an ad hoc study.
I was going to say, you should just do your own clinical trial at this point.
And then we will move that. Yeah, you could do the ad hoc study, right? It's a little less expensive. You kind of confirm that this is going down the right path.
Right.
And then, we have plans to do a placebo-controlled.
My thing is this, you have the testimonials, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of health nut influencers out there that I've had on the show, and I follow them to this day, and they agree with me and I agree with them, where it's like, okay, well, if we gather enough quote unquote N1 citizen scientists, biohackers, which are now in the thousands, isn't that enough isn't that better than these non-clinical trial studies, these epidemiological studies, if you will? So, yeah.
Well, yeah. I think that depends. Right. So you're
it's a touchy subject. It's a touchy subject.
You're deep in the rabbit hole of like, what studies do we look at? Our goal to do a placebo-controlled double-blind or double-blind placebo-controlled study, that's the preeminent study. There's only one other, which is I forget what it's called, but when you're looking at many placebo-controlled double-blind studies, like when you're doing that, then that is the highest, because you're looking from different researchers, from different research institutions. But the double-blind placebo-controlled trial is the preeminent. When you have a positive result there, then you're allowed to say things. And so that's what we're shooting for.
What's the timeline on that? I mean, because I'm sure you got to jump through hoops just to even get that far.
Well, first, our first step will be to get some ad hoc, to get about 20 people through an ad hoc. And we've already got like 5 people chomping at the bit, and we haven't fully finalized what the study exactly, like, what is the survey that happens up front? How do we ship the finger prick to check HSCRP before and then after? Like, so we're finalizing that. And we got like people going, literally somebody sent an email today going, I want to be part of that study. I haven't heard anything yet.
I'm that kind of person too. I'm like, if it supports the data, because I'm OCD enough, according to my wife's description of me, that
not my description of myself.
If you give me something to follow, I will follow it. Like when I had to go over to my client's house. She's also a great friend of my wife too. But that's last weekend, to build a dog kennel crate for a fancy one that's been sitting there for 2 months because she doesn't build things. Yeah. And I was like, the instructions are very clear. Yeah. And she's like, oh, you're not one of those guys who skips the instructions? And I'm like, no, I've never built this before in my life. I'm going to use the instructions. Like, anyway, if I was taking part in a study, I'm like, that's why like these epidemiological studies where it's like, oh, well, over 20 years, we checked in with these people once or twice a year and asked them how it was going and what have they eaten.
How much broccoli did they eat?
I'm like, you're telling me you had a bulletproof journal 365 days a year for 20 years? Come on.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
It is literally impossible.
Yeah.
So that's what drives me nuts when I hear stuff like that. And I'm like, come on. But you have the right sales and marketing. It sounds good and looks good.
Yep.
And they can get away with it.
Yeah.
So you guys are going down the hard road.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think, and so by the way, I'm happy to send you some product. Like we'll absolutely do that. And if you want to do the HSCRP, I think you're probably.
I want to test that sleep one on my wife. So
there you go. Yeah. We'll get you some product. Do you have any pets?
Oh yeah.
Dogs, cats.
My wife just got home and she'll be taking her out for her scent training. She's a fancy dog. It's a Vizsla. Hungarian bird hunting dog, very athletic, very fast. We got her up to, speaking of sprinting, Did you know there's a thing called Fast Cat for dogs?
I did not know.
It has nothing to do with cats. It's just, again, it's an acronym.
Yeah.
Picture a 100-yard dash course set up with fencing on both sides. And they got like a little teaser thing on a high-speed winch cable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And somebody hits go. I release. My wife is at the other end of the course, and the dog just chases all out. She's up to 28 miles per hour.
Wow.
She's 2.5 years old. I was like,
wow.
Like greyhounds are like 30 to 40 miles an hour, 35 to 40, maybe 35 to 45. I don't know. My wife is way better at the stats than this. And I was like,
yeah.
So she's obviously stressing her body and sprinting, but I saw on your website, you had a pet thing. So
yeah. Yeah. No, we've got a dog version. We've got a cat version. And like I said, we've got the cosmetic. So
is there that much differences in the formulations then? I mean, again, we're talking about olive oil and ESS60. So is it just a dosing?
Yeah, no, yes, it's dosing. And then with the dog, we've added a little bit of bacon essence. And with the cat, we've added a little bit of salmon essence. And that's the only difference.
Well, my dog knows the essence of bacon. So you just throwing droplets on the food?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I like that.
And we've gotten videos of, big dogs that you imagine are pretty ravenous with their bowls, and they'll wait for the drops.
Oh, interesting.
Right. And then when the drops are on, then they'll go after the food, like in food's flying everywhere or whatever.
Our dog is so smart. Like she literally trained herself to wait for our command to eat. We never even trained it into her. She started doing that as a puppy. Like she's just sitting there and just looked at us and looked at the food, look at us, look at the food. We just stood there. We're like,
go ahead and eat.
And she's been doing it every breakfast, every dinner, been doing it ever since. I was like, very intelligent dog. Yeah. So obviously I want to keep her brain healthy, right? Healthy fats, and obviously everything else. I'm intrigued though. And my wife might get a kick out of that because again, she's a doctor of chiropractic. So when she's not working on horses, she loves working on dogs. A local high-end fancy schmancy dog food store, I guess, if you will. Like they literally have their own commercial kitchen in there. Like it's that level of a store. Like like, I don't know if you have stores that set up dealer, but like I could see a store like them, like selling that, I guess, or wholesaling it or whatever.
We absolutely do that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What's it called? The Dining Dog is the name of it.
The Dining Dog. Wow.
The Dining Dog. Yeah. Yeah. Great people. I mean, but it's like everything under the sun is in there, but they bring her in once a month. They set up a whole roster and she'll be there for 2-3 hours, chiropractically adjusting the different patients that have been scheduled. And she just does them once a month and that's her thing. So she's a geek about that stuff. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But as a chiropractic person, besides also being an Ivy League educated doctor at the medical level, she understands, things and supplementation and everything else. So, but yeah.
She'll probably geek out about this. So it'd be cool to get your feedback.
Because usually what I got to do is if I tell her to do something, ain't going to happen. If I could send her the evidence, the studies and everything else backing it up, which you have, then great. I spoke to somebody way smarter than me, baby. Go look at that. Check it out. And, so that's my master plan. So
it sounds like with my wife, the upfront answer is usually no. I have to sprinkle the idea and walk away and let it percolate. And then she'll come back with a great idea.
It's like fixing anything on the homestead. I mention it and she's the frugal one. And that I don't mention it now, I've learned. It took me 10 years of us dating and then being married over almost 6. And then by the next year, it's her idea.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, she brings it up. So
that's a genius idea.
I set a 1-year precursor, and because I'm like, I was planning on doing it next year anyway. So like, just lay the groundwork. So,
that's awesome.
Like, baby, that's a great idea. I was like, yeah, we should definitely do that.
I'm all on board. I don't know why.
The good thing is she's never going to listen to this show, so I'm not fully sharing anything. I have to worry about getting burned on later.
That's awesome.
She's like, when you reach Joe Rogan's level, maybe I'll listen to the show. It's like,
yeah, you won't. Even at Joe Rogan's level, come on. Like,
I mean, I can't.
Your husband, like, what are you going to listen to the show for?
Well, exactly. She's like, why? She's like, I already got to listen to you day in and day out anyway. So this is why I wanted to make sure we got towards the end of the show with some laughter because obviously I loved your style before we even started the show today. So I have my guest co-host help close out the show. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. But something I learned over the years of just becoming a podcaster. And how long have you been a podcaster now?
So I had another podcast that I started in 2009 and just stepped down from that in 2023.
Okay. So you were an early, so you got me beat then. Cause I kept putting it off. And then I finally launched it in 16. But also I was out West from 09 to 11. And then I was living in Colorado from 12 to 13. So anyway, I just never got into it. And anyways, my point is I used to end out the show and say, hey man, what's some final words you want to leave behind? You know, so in case people forgot all the amazing knowledge we shared, at least they'll remember this about you. But then I realized once I wrote my book and I launched a charity that the book benefits, I'm now buying boots for wildland firefighters because people didn't realize that we had to buy them ourselves, and they're not cheap. Now, when I bought them, they were $450. Now they're $600 to $800, depending on the level of wildland firefighting, logger heeled, solid leather boot. Point is, I realized that it doesn't matter how hard I work or how much money we can generate, which is important, for livelihood. But it's like, what are we doing on this world? What are we leaving behind? So then I kind of flipped my script. Now I ask my guest co-hosts to think at that higher level. And now I call it the legacy message. So it's like, okay, well, you've been at this for a while. Have you developed a legacy level type of thought, like something leaving behind that positive footprint on the planet? Like my helicopter could have crashed, heli skiing a couple weeks ago. I might not be here, but at least I know I'm leaving something positive behind. I don't know. Or thoughts. You obviously wrote a book. You got a company. I mean, there's, a lot going on there on your side of the fence.
Yeah, I definitely have an answer for that. Do you want to save that for the very end? I'd like to kind of go over how people could, if they're interested, how they could find the product.
Yeah. Let's close that out. And then, you get to help, you get to close the show out. So that's why you have the guest co-host.
So we made a URL for our audience. The URL is MyVitalC, C as in carbon. So myvitalc.com/livethefuel.
Thank you.
There is a coupon code for $15 off on that landing page. We're not going to give it to you here. You need to go to that landing page to actually find that coupon code. It's $15 off your initial order.
I'll add that to our show notes for you. Thank you.
Please. When you land there, you mentioned the 3 oils. We actually sell it in 3 oils: olive oil, avocado oil, and MCT oil. People will ask us which one should they try. We always recommend the olive oil for 2 reasons. The first is we're a research-based organization, and all the research is in olive oil, so the ESS60 molecule in olive oil. And then the next is you actually get a higher concentration of this ESS60 molecule in olive oil versus avocado oil or MCT oil. So olive oil. We offer a 25% discount if you go on subscription. So even if you just want one product, go ahead and take advantage of that subscription. By the way, our customer service department has 1,000 5-star reviews. They are not trained to talk you out of canceling your subscription. They're there to help you. They're also very knowledgeable. If you have
people turn subscriptions on and off all the time. It was the one thing. Thank you. This is one thing that I did with Vinny years ago because he ended up creating a coffee company and the vitamin company. And I'm like, make that as easy as possible. He's like, why? I was like, because people will come back.
Yep.
And they programmed in a feature, I don't know if you've done this, where you can pause it for like, let's say you're traveling around the world for the next 60 days or 90 days or whatever, or you're taking a break because you want to see if you're performing at the same level without the product, right?
Yep.
Whatever. So
we do that exact same thing. That's part of the reason we probably have 1,000 5-star reviews is just because we're so flexible with the customer. But do take advantage of that discount. I do have the book, Live Longer and Better. The book is available on Amazon for $20, or you can find it on the website. It's not on the landing page, so it's not on the Live the Fuel landing page, but you can go in the menu structure and find the book. Just go through that link first. And we have a special thing. You mentioned charity. I have a charity piece to the book also. If you buy the book on our website, you can pay $10 and I'll sign the book for you. That full $10 goes to Operation Underground Railroad.
I'm a big fan of that. I watched that documentary and it was amazing.
Yeah. I happened to see that guy speak on stage at an event the week before the movie came out. Then I watched the movie. By the way, for the audience who may not remember, the movie is about child sex trafficking. Obviously, we want to stop that as quickly as possible. Right. It's absolutely the movie. The other day, I was like, oh, it was such a good movie. Maybe I'll go back and watch it again. And I was like, no.
The movie is awesome. The background is awful. So it's awesomely awful.
Yeah.
From a truth telling standpoint, the way a true documentary should be.
Yeah. And so his organization is Operation Underground Railroad. The full signature fee goes to Operation Underground Railroad, and we're very, very proud of that.
I think he came out with a second movie, a follow-up or something.
I'm not
he
sure,
helped influence another movie, because The Sound of Freedom was the actual movie.
Yes.
Yeah. But
and it was, a great movie about a horrific topic. So that was good. Now, to get to your question, one of the things, even 8 years ago, I would have never said, hey, I'm going to be in the health industry. I'm going to have written a book called Live Longer and Better. I'm going to have a podcast called Live Beyond the Norms. I actually did a longevity summit where I interviewed 55 experts in longevity, including like Ben Greenfield, Dave Asprey, Dr. Stephen Gundry, Ben Azadi has now been interviewed. I would have never said that I would accomplish that. But since this got thrust into the health space, and I've just embraced it, and I love what I get to do every day, one of my things is there's an amazing book by Dr. David Sinclair called Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. Dr. Sinclair is a medical researcher out of Harvard. He's not a medical doctor, but a medical researcher. And one of the purposes of his book was to lobby for the medical community to look at aging as a disease. Because right now we have the diseases of aging. And one of the challenges that presents is we have funding for Alzheimer's, arthritis, cardiovascular disease. All of these are different silos. And we have this sense that if we were to solve one of these diseases of aging, that we would dramatically extend life. But if we solved one of them, let's just say cancer, we would probably extend average lifespan by 5 years, because the next disease of aging would step in and take us out. So if we could take that money and apply it to aging and kind of solving aging, then you're actually solving the diseases of aging collectively. And when you do that, you'll be, kind of neutralizing the negative impact of those diseases. And so that, and also kind of being in pursuit of what's called the longevity escape velocity. This is the point in time when the medical community extends life by more than 1 day every day that we're alive, right? So that's this longevity escape velocity where potentially people will live forever. Obviously, you can't fix a bus crash, you fall out of an airplane, like there's situations, but from natural causes. And I personally think that this is possible, and I'll provide some evidence to that. So I would say kind of legacy is, hey, understand that we need to be addressing aging, not just the diseases of aging, that we have this opportunity to pursue the longevity escape velocity. And here's my evidence for it. So back in 1950, medical information doubled every 50 years, every 50 years. Today, information doubles every 3 months. What that means is at the end of 2025, we're going to have 16 times more medical information than we had at the beginning of 2025. That's a lot of information. So whatever is actually possible, by the way, that doesn't even include AI.
I was going to say, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was like, that's why, I know people are afraid of AI, but I'm excited for AI because people are talking about the fact that you can get an answer faster than your basic home-based MD. Like, they can't go through the data fast enough. And with that rate of accelerated information, that's crazy. We need AI for that.
Yeah, to process that information. And think about that 16 times more information in a year doesn't include AI. I think the benefit of AI is not just we can write the report faster, right? Because that makes published information, that increases our 16-fold increase over the year. I think the real value is being able to process all the data and tell us what we should be looking at.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Helping that doctor do a better job before the pharmaceutical is prescribed.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So that is kind of if legacy is the right word that I'm aspiring to leave at this point.
I'm loving that. I mean, you hit, that's like a multifaceted legacy closeout, because you hit on, obviously a book leaves behind a legacy if it does well. You aligned it with a charity like I did. So thank you from one brother to another. I respect that. I just happen to create my own because I had my own passion. But I do love what they stand for. So that's wonderful as well. But then also we geeked out on the science there at the end again, because it's like, dude, I did not realize, I know that the data acquisition rates have significantly increased thanks to technology. But also our ability to not just consume it, but also understand it and respond with it. That's where there is that integration of AI nowadays, and it's very, very exciting. So
yeah,
but and then if we can figure that out, and I'm not saying I have to live forever. If you have the right decisions and you're living a great life, why not? But also back to that point on disease, we have created. This is my statement. We have created a lot of disease, maybe not on purpose, but we've influenced ourselves in a very negative way. Back to oxidative stress and everything else. So we have to find a way to reverse that. And back to your point, I love that. I started thinking about a guy I had in the show a while ago. He was a former special forces. His book was called Tip of the Spear. He was a Green Beret.
Yeah, I think I've definitely heard of it.
It's great book.
That's a concept. Maybe it's a fundamental concept, right?
I think it's a fundamental concept as how you go in, but the whole point is like your angle there made me think of the tip of the spear, because we're trying to send money all over the place to this disease, that disease, this disease, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, all this. It's like, guys, like, I love that. The umbrella approach, consider it like a simple corporate flow chart of employees, right? It's like, here's the top, and then we branch out, we branch out, we branch out. But like, yes, that tip of the spear concept to benefit everything else behind it is intriguing to me. I love that.
The dominant feature of any of those disease, or the dominant indicator, is age. So if there's some way to address age, then we should be focused on that.
Well, and if some of us are aging better than others, by reducing inflammation, by reducing stress upon the body, or at least counteracting it, we should be aging better. I mean, again, the FDA can say what they want. This isn't rocket science. So with that, Chris, hang tight. I'm going to give you a goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, a multifaceted closeout approach there from a legacy message. I love it. So all of this stuff will be in the show notes. Chris's team did send me a whole list of links, but we've also name dropped a few influencers today, books, etc. So all of that's going to be there because I'm a geek about follow-up knowledge. It'll all be in the show notes on livethefuel.com or on your favorite podcasting app or on the YouTubes, etc. But ladies and gentlemen, remember, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Chris helped us do that today exponentially. And if you did stay in as long as I did, since I'm the co-host, hopefully you geeked out as much as we did. So again, remember, you too can live the fuel. And we'll talk to you guys again soon. So thanks for hanging with us.